Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. It's Jenna. Today we're going to be doing a reading wrap-up while we pretend that it's October because I have pale people problems and I'm over this 95-degree weather. So if you hear crackling in the background, that's my fancy fireplace going. So first up we have Ian Reid's debut novel, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Now this came out in 2016, and I was going to pick it up, but then I heard negative things about it, but then I heard very positive things about it, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to make up my own mind. I got a cheap copy off of Thrift Books. It's an ex-library edition, so thank you, Columbus Metropolitan Library. Does anybody else miss card catalogs? Or those little library cards that used to come in here? Because I do. Anyways, so this is about a couple and they're riding in their car at the beginning, and she is meeting his parents for the first time at a secluded farm, but she's actually thinking about breaking up with him. Now, and it kind of just takes on from there. So now I think some people maybe didn't like this book because it's a little bit of a slow burn. To me, it wasn't that slow, but I could see where to some it would be kind of a slow burn up into a woe ending. And with those kind of books, if you don't like what's going on during the slow burn, the payoff may not be worth it. And some people said they were confused by the ending, which I wasn't. But this is one of those where if you really like psychology and philosophy, like this book is going to make you think. And in 200 pages for an author to do, that's pretty good. But I like that kind of stuff, so I absolutely loved this book. And I think the author did a really good job too of, hang on, I have a quitter strip in here. There's these little one-page chapters where you don't know who's speaking, but it makes you, these people were talking about, I still don't understand, how could something like this happen? We're all in shock. Nothing so horrible has ever happened around here. No, not like this in all the years I've worked here. So they're having this conversation so you know something bad is going to happen to one or both of these characters. And also I tabbed 2 spots. Like I love great quotes. Like this had a couple of moments where you just read something and you just stop and you just think. So I want to read a little passage with my little tabbies. Let's see, where is it? The meaning of my existence is that life has addressed a question to me. Or conversely, I myself am a question which is addressed to the world. And I must communicate my answer, for otherwise I am dependent upon the world's answer. I absolutely love that. So I marked that. And then there's another one. Our physical structures, like a relationship, change and repeat, tire and wilt, age and deplete. We get sick and better or sick and worse. We don't know when or how or why, we just carry on. Is it better to be paired up or alone? And at the end of it, he says, thanks for coming. And you also know things are real when they can be lost. So it has like a lot of those very iconic like quotes kind of thing in there, which I absolutely loved, like I said. So I highly recommend this book. All right, and up next we have Slender Man by Anonymous. And yes, that is the author's name. I tried to look it up, couldn't find it. Very clever marketing trick, and I approve. This was a cover buy from Barnes & Noble. I like a good Slender Man story. Now, this is about a girl named Lauren who goes missing, and her friend Matt is trying to find her. But while he's trying to find her, the closer he gets to the truth, the more trouble he gets into. And this is told through online conversations, texts, emails, police interviews, and journal entries. So the author chose that format. So that made it a very fast read. But I feel like it took away from the horror a bit. When it's done like that in its entirety, you lose some of the atmosphere, which I have high expectations for when it comes to a Slender Man story, because you think Slender Man, it's very atmospheric horror. So I feel like that took away a little bit, but I did care a lot about what happened to Lauren and Matt. Like, I loved their relationship, so I thought that was really well done. So I do think this is worth a read if you want, like, I gave it a solid 3. If you want a good Slender Man story and you don't mind YA, or if you scare easily. It did have a few creepy moments in there, and like I said, I did like it. I just didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Right, then up next we have Ghostlight by Sonia Getzler, and this is a middle grade paranormal story about a girl named Avery who's about 12. Her older brother Blake, they stay on their grandma's land, place, whatever. She's religious, but they stay there during the summer, but her brother Blake doesn't really want to play with her anymore. They usually play this make-believe game, but he feels like he's too old for it. So she befriends a boy who's staying on the grandma's property as well, for a short time, just renting it with his famous dad. And the boy is one of those, he really likes to film and make documentaries and movies and things like that. So he wants to film a movie or a documentary or film or whatever on this house, in this house, which she is forbidden to go to. Now she has her family has a connection to this house. Now I like this book for not the reason that I thought I would. This book was very much more about family dynamics, relationships, friendships, which is really good for middle graders. You know what I mean? And it was cheesy in moments, and it was more like a mystery. There wasn't like a ton of scares, I guess you could say. It was more just like, what is her connection to the house? What happened to the people in the house? It was just a calm, but it's middle grade. So for a middle grade book, I think it's a solid good read for a young reader. I really do. Because I think there's something for them to learn from it. And I did care about what happened to the characters, and I cared about what happened to their relationships. I found that very fascinating. So it was more like, I liked it for that reason, but not for the reason I went into that I was thinking I was going to like the book. Up next we have Carson Wolfe's Dangerous Savior. And I went into this expecting a chainsaw, gory slasher novel. Really quick, easy read. And it was a quick and easy read, but it was more like a sweet gay romance with some chainsaw action going on, and I really loved it. It's about a boy named Ethan. He's going on a road trip by himself. He kind of just wants to get away when he is attacked by a motorcycle gang, and of course in the middle of nowhere, and he is saved by Tom, who is wielding a chainsaw, and the chainsaw death scene was pretty good, pretty well done. And but Tom has, his mom and his two sisters, and one of the sisters has a young daughter, who are pretty much, frankly saying, they're man-haters. They're not very nice to Tom, but Tom has to take Ethan back to his place per his mother's command. You kind of get the feeling he really doesn't want to, but doesn't really have a choice. Ethan just witnessed him kill somebody, so they have to take him. So it becomes one of those, he's a captor, and it's a captor-captive situation. So Ethan tries to get closer to Tom, but he's already kind of, attracted to him because he saved his life with the motorcycle gang. So it's kind of those, you're falling for my hero, and he's hot and buff, but I actually really liked it. I did think the ending was a little rushed, but I don't know if it was just me or if maybe I just wanted more, but I kind of think it wrapped up pretty quick. But overall, it was very good. So up next we have Shudder House by Rick Wood, and this is about a girl named Amber and her two brothers who are trying to get money to help save their mom, who is dying of cancer, and they finally get some hope. There is a doctor who says that he has like an experimental procedure or medicine that could help them out, but it's going to cost X amount of money, and they just can't come up with it. So they decide to rob a house. Unfortunately, the house they decide to rob is that of a wealthy serial killer. And the serial killer catches them in the act and shuts down the house by, basically that's why it's called Shudder House. The shutters just shut and they are trapped in there with him. And this was really, really good. I cared about the characters, their relationship, the sisters, the brother. The bad guy was pretty good bad guy. I mean, if you want a solid dude who wants to kill, he just likes to kill. And I wish there was a sequel, I guess I could say, and for me to say that at the end of a book is really, really good. I really hope there is a sequel. I loved the ending. I'm going to check out more from this author, so if any of y'all have... Alright, then up next I have, this is actually two books, but I'm just going to combine them into one. This is by Amelita Ray, I believe I'm saying her name right, and it's Owned and Cherished, which is just a two-part series. It's basically a guilty pleasure of mine. It's just boys love novels. It's about a boy who is basically taken to an island as kind of a captive in a way, and he's sold at auction, and he's sold to the guy who buys him is basically a trillion gazillionaire, whatever you want to call it, and he's like a mob boss, and it's basically a BDSM kind of book. And I do recommend this author if you're into that kind of thing. She basically writes BDSM, boys love. Some of her stories are out there, but I personally love them. Like I said, it's like a guilty pleasure of mine, so if you're into that kind of thing and if you're looking for that, you should check out that author. I don't want to say too much. That's pretty much the gist of the book. It's a sweet love story with some BDSM, if you're into that kind of thing. And if you are and you know of any other stories or authors that I might like, let me know. Alright, so up next I read Will Haunt You by Brian Kirk. And this one I gave 2 stars. It's basically psychological horror. It's about a guy named Jesse who used to be in a heavy metal rock band, and at the beginning they're having like a reunion, and one of his band members, I forgot his name, gave him a book, and it's one of those things, the book reads you, you don't read the book. So I think that's why I had high expectations, because I love that tagline. And they're on their way, they're riding, and they get attacked, and Jesse is basically put through psychological torture. When he suffers from alcoholism, you know, he's a recovering alcoholic, and he accidentally injured his son when his son was young, and the son is now permanently, there's something wrong with him, so he has to live with that. So it's like psychological torture. It's just, it got kind of choppy for me in the middle, and then I felt like there was some filler moments slash characters. I'm like, is this really necessary for the story? But I pushed through. I almost DNF'd it, but I pushed through. But the ending was pretty cool. So I didn't absolutely hate it. I just didn't love it. It was okay. But let me know if you read it and what you thought. I'm interested. Right, and then last but not least, we have Robert R. McCammon's Bale, which was a cover by. It didn't even dawn on me that this is the dude that wrote Swan Song. And at first I think I called it Ball, but it's pretty sure it's Bale, because let's face it, that sounds more badass than Ball. But this is basically about a self-proclaimed messiah's rise to power, and you get to see his infancy, childhood to adulthood. And what I really liked was in his childhood, you know how usually in these kind of stories the child is usually very like quiet, just kind of biding his time until he's an adult, rise to power kind of thing. He just has maybe a few followers. In the orphanage, the nun is taking roll call, and I believe his real name was Jeffrey, and he basically says, no, that's not my name, it's Bale. Like, he wants to be called Bale. He's not hiding. He has nothing to hide from. You get to see how, when he's even at 10 years old, how fast he gets a cult-like following, and that he's going to be some serious trouble when he gets older. So fast forward to when he gets older, and you're brought in 2 more characters. One is Dr. Naughton and Dr. Virga. Dr. Virga is head of theology, and Dr. Naughton is his co-worker. And Dr. Naughton tells him, he studies like messiahs and cults. He's heard of one in Iran, in the Middle East, and he wants to go investigate it. And when he does not return, Dr. Virga goes hunting for him, so to speak. And the writing was so good. Like, when they were in the Middle East, I felt hot. And then later on, when they go to Greenland, I felt cold. So his writing was, you know, really on point. And trigger warning, there is like rape, and it basically deals with humanity at its most animalistic. Bale brings that out in you and kind of feeds on it, so to speak. Well, not so to speak, that's basically what he does. And so if that this may not be for you if you're sensitive about that kind of thing. The only thing that was kind of a miss for me was there were moments kind of when you're watching a horror movie or reading a horror book where you just want to yell at the screen, or like, why did this character do this? Why did this character do that? But I mean, that's what makes a story a story. Sometimes, you know, they're making mistakes. But I did want to read a passage, actually. You know, I put a post-it in here, so it's worth it. And it's a little scary one. Because like I said, this does deal with power and humanity at its most animalistic. And I really liked this. He realized now that no book could ever change a man. No book ever quiet the rush or violent fever on the streets. Perhaps they'd been wrong. The sword now was much mightier than the pen. The sword wrote in red passages of carnage and violence that seemed now to outweigh by far the black words on white pages. Soon, he thought, the time for thinking would be past, and men, like automatons, would grasp guns to scrawl their signature in flesh. That was poetic to me, and very, like, all right, Mr. Negative Nancy, you know? But I really liked that, and I had to mark it. All right, so that's it for my reading wrap-up. Let me know what you thought of these books, and if any of them sound interesting to you, or if you've read them and what you thought. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope y'all have a good day. I'm gonna go cut off my fireplace. All right, bye.